All right, we're here today with Coach Dustin Caldwell. Coach Caldwell is the head coach at Clinton High School in Clinton, Iowa. He's been there since 2018 as the head coach, and actually has an awesome, I think it's a really cool situation. He actually graduated and wrestled for Clinton High as well. So went back to coach at his alma mater. Coach, thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. So I guess we're probably never going to stop talking about it. It seems like now we've still got, coronavirus is a big deal in the world and so much chaos still. How are you staying busy these days with all the, chaos going on?
Well, it's been an adjustment for sure. We almost had to quit immediately after season when everything hit. So we've really struggled trying to find space in the off season. They won't let us in the room or anything like that until recently. So I work outside of school, so I've been working through it all, and that's kept me pretty busy. And then we're getting to play football, so I'm coaching that as well. So I've been pretty busy lately.
Sure. Good. It's good to stay busy, man, with all the crazy stuff. You got to find something to occupy your time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to sit at home for the past 6 months. I'd drive myself nuts.
Yeah, me too. Did you ever stoop so low as to watch Tiger King yet?
I did not actually. I've heard about it. All my friends have watched it, but I just turned it on. Couldn't get into it. It's not for me, for sure.
Yeah. It's crazy. I'm not proud, but I've definitely watched. Yeah, I've watched it.
Yeah, I heard Carol Baskin's on Dancing with the Stars or something. I can't watch that either.
Yep.
That'd be good.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, Coach, at the beginning of your sort of wrestling story, what got you started in the sport?
Well, actually, I have a twin brother. He actually moved back this year and is going to help assist. But my mom actually was tired of us roughhousing around the house. So she said, well, why not try and do it, in a sport? So they signed us up for wrestling. And I actually started my career in Savannah, where my mom teaches. And then from then on, it's history. It's just been a part of my life ever since.
Sure. About how old were you think?
Probably about 4.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. We got into so many fights when we were younger, me and my brother. So he was finally sick of it and just said, we'll take it out on each other out there on the mat where you can't get hurt,
Sure. Absolutely. It seems like there's a lot of kids who that's kind of how they started. They just had a lot of energy and their parents are just like, dude, you got to do something to burn off all that energy.
And there's really nothing better than wrestling because once I walk out of practice, I am beat. So they're sleeping on the ride home, all that good stuff.
Yep. Who are some of the wrestlers that maybe you looked up to or like you looked at like kind of as role models growing up?
I was a big fan of the Hawkeyes for a while, or I still am. And didn't really get into the college scene until high school, but I was a big fan of Ben Boothby, state champ for Clinton, Byron Tate, state champ for Clinton. And one of my friends, Hunter Jenko, his older brother, also wrestled. He's a few years older than me, and he's always a good leader. So I looked up to him quite a bit as well.
Those are great names, man. I know I've been around the MAC wrestling for a while, and yeah, I know those guys. And Clinton's had a lot of good success over the years.
Yeah, it started back in I think the 50s with Bob Looters, and he actually started in Savannah too, and then it trickled all the way down to Coach J.D. Looters, who coached me with his sons, and then I got really close with them, and they kind of guided me to where I am now.
Sure. I would say in a way, I haven't finished this yet, but Jay Zamet and I have started like I can't remember what we were thinking about calling it, like almost like a godfather of Quad City wrestling. And we were like, it probably started like back at Looters and then went to you know, I know I'm going to miss a ton of levels, but like Dan Knight's in there somewhere, and then all the different people who I always remember hearing about, like the in football, there's a Hayden Fry coaching tree, and now like Gable coaching tree probably. There's probably what we were kind of doing is like a starting to put together like a Bob Luter's coaching tree. I think that would be pretty detailed.
I'm sure the Looters family would really enjoy that. They still breed wrestling. Eric's got a son now. Spencer's coaching at PV. JD just got out a few years ago, but he's not all the way away from it. So, yeah, I think that'd be really, really cool for them and the Clinton program.
Yeah, I think that'd be really fun. I think it's something we're slowly working on. We need to get more. We'll probably reach out to people like you and Spencer and JD and I'm sure between all you guys, you could help us fill in a lot of those gaps.
Absolutely.
It's awesome, man. So Coach, you were a 4-sport athlete and a 2-time state qualifier. Did sports come natural to you, or I guess when did you realize that wrestling was something that you were getting pretty good at?
I think it was probably 7th grade year. We kind of, obviously Alex and I would wrestle at home too. So that competitive edge that we had at home, we brought to school, to sports, to everything. So when we really started to excel in wrestling, I think that's kind of when it was like, oh, hey, this might be something that I'd like to do.
Yeah. Was it middle school? Did you like do middle school Clinton Junior High or something like?
Yep. We did that, and then we did our club team as well, the Clinton Junior Kings.
Okay.
As well as going into the high school room a few times a week to help out some of the lighter weights, because around those years, I think it's 2010, 2011, numbers were kind of down in Clinton. So, they maybe had one practice partner. So if they brought up a couple of, decent middle schoolers, they can wrestle around with them and know what they're doing. So that was really beneficial for me as well, wrestling, older guys, more skilled guys, compared to just facing my brother all the time.
Yeah. I never did it. I wasn't a very good wrestler, but I've heard a lot of people who have had a lot of success say you're always like trying to train like at the next level when it's possible. So like I'm sure that was big time beneficial for you.
It really was. I think Coach Clint Long, he was there, and he was the one that allowed us to come in when we were younger. And Coach Don LaRue, those guys, they saw something in me, and they let me take off with it.
Yeah, that's really good. Did you do much like freestyle and Greco?
I didn't until maybe junior year. I did. I never did any tournaments. Only did some practices. But I just don't think in Clinton it's been a big thing until recently. Because that's ultimately where the peak is in wrestling, is the Olympics and freestyle and Greco. So I never did a ton of it, but I got a few guys on staff that wrestled in college, and hopefully that next summer, without the COVID stuff, we'll be able to get into more of that kind of stuff.
Sure, that'll be good. I know my kids, so my youngest has not ever done any freestyle and Greco. He was planning on this year being his first season. He was actually really pumped about it, and then obviously COVID hit. My oldest has been doing some freestyle and Greco, and I saw a massive difference in his, I don't know what you call it, like what I thought was his career trajectory. I thought he was decent, but then once he started doing a lot of off-season, I was like, dude, he's making big-time improvements.
Yeah, I think that was the big difference. Like you said, I did a lot of sports. So, in season took priority, but we'd always go to open mat. And I think the off season when I was in school compared to now is a complete 180. You got to do off season stuff because everyone else is, and if you're not doing it, then we're gonna get left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I talk about constantly, and I hope everyone hears it. I hope the people who want to be good at wrestling definitely listen to it. It's like, there's kids working out right now. Like there's kids that are getting better. And as a wrestling fan, I want to see everyone getting better. Like I want everyone to improve. And so, yeah, anyone who will ever listen to me, they've heard me get in the off season. Even if it's like once a week, like that's so much better than not at all.
Yeah, you can't step on the mat in November and expect to be where you were last February.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. So this is an interesting question we started asking people recently, coaches. If you could go back in time to give yourself some advice, when would you go back to talk to yourself, and what advice would you give?
I would probably go back to just before my freshman year and tell myself to actually watch high-level wrestling a lot more than I did. I'd watch a Hawkeye meet here or there, but I'd just be interested in the result. Right? I'm not worried about the techniques or what they're doing or how they're preparing. I think that was my big thing was just always learning. You get some success and you're like, oh, you kind of settle. But I think I should have told myself, don't ever settle. Always learn. Always be prepared to learn, and be better every single day.
I love it. That's great advice. I think, and the nice thing about it is the kids these days, it's so much easier. I think, like, I guess you're quite a bit younger than me, but like, even probably when you were a freshman in high school, there wasn't as much out there from flow wrestling and probably a little bit on YouTube, but not nearly what there is now.
No, I agree 100%. Like we talked about it recently, actually, and it's like, man, if I had flow wrestling when I was in high school, I would have watched every single video. Not that I have it now, but it would have just like watching the Terry documentary. It makes me want to run through a brick wall, and you just learn their lifestyle and all that stuff. So that would have been very beneficial for me, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I've probably watched the Terry documentary, not kidding, probably 14 or 15 times now. My family's gotten kind of sick of it, but I can't get enough of it.
No, you really can't, because there's just so much that those guys do behind the scenes. I can't remember who it was practicing. 3 hours after practice on the same shot that he's been doing all practice. But he wasn't getting it right, and there he is 3 hours after practice, finally getting it down, and it probably paid off for him.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's such a good flow. And then I've just Rockfin is a new one that I'm not really in depth in. I subscribe because I like the live events that they've been putting on lately. But yeah, there's so much content out there now. It's amazing.
Completely different from even 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Coach, I mentioned this in the at the beginning, but you had a little bit of a unique situation coming back to the wrestling room that you kind of grew up in. How have you managed that? Sort of, how's that been going? How have you managed that?
Well, after high school, I went off to college and then came back and was under my coach still, J.D. Luters, who we talked about as all the history you can think of in Clinton about wrestling. And he showed me a lot of the ropes. Unfortunately, he got out. And then his son, Eric, who was also a wrestling genius, just same way as me, watches all the flow, knows all the guys, just incredible. So I was under him for a year as well when he took over, and he showed me the ropes, and so now it's up to me, and I still lean on them guys to give me advice, because I'm still young, still in my young stages of my coaching career. So I really rely on those guys and my assistant coaches to get us through it without making any rash decisions. But it's been good. It's the dream job because I want Clinton to be at the top, right? Everyone wants their program to be at the top, but for me to go through that program, I know what it's like. I know what the kids are like. And I think that's been really beneficial for us.
Yeah, that's great, man. I know I enjoyed watching a couple of your kids last year had pretty successful years. The one that definitely stuck out to me, obviously your state placement, or Hunter Randall had a great year. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, he came a long, long way from his freshman year. He's a real tall kid, but between his sophomore and junior year, I still think he grew 4 inches and put on 60 pounds, which was incredible. So he was, 6'7", 6'8", long, um, and had just an awkward wrestling style, which I think gave a lot of people a lot of fits, because it wasn't, what you teach all the time. And that's kind of wrestling now, but it was really, really cool to see him from where he started to where he's been. And I think it was really good for our program and for me. That's my first place winner. He made it out his junior year and didn't finish how he wanted, but I think he finished where he wanted to be.
Yeah, he did great, man. He was fun to watch. What's he doing for college now? Is he playing sports?
He actually is getting ready to join the Marine Corps. He's not going to school right now.
Gotcha.
And then I'm sure he'll find his spot in the Marines, whatever he does.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he's a great kid, and I wish him the best.
Yep, absolutely. I had a coach this offseason ask me if I knew of any unsigned bigger kids. He was looking for like a heavyweight wrestler, and that was in one name I brought up. I wasn't sure what he's doing. I'm like, if you can find out, I don't know his family, but I'm like, if you can get a hold of him, he'd be a good catch for some wrestling school, program for sure.
We had a few talks during the year about it. He had a few D3 guys reach out to him, but I think he kind of knew that schooling wasn't in his future, and I think he wanted to get either A, into the workforce, or B, join the Marine Corps. So either way, he's doing what he wants to do, and that's okay with me.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a bigger picture in mind, and that's exciting, man. He'll do well.
Yeah.
So, Coach, obviously we mentioned everyone knows, but unusual situation this year. Obviously, off-season stuff has really been hard to come by. Have you recently been able to get the guys back in the room a little bit?
I actually got the okay to get in the room yesterday. So we're taking a step in the right direction. Clinton has been decently bad with cases. So we just got to make sure that we follow all the guidelines, make sure we're cleaning the mats, wearing our masks. Just staying clean really is what it is. I'm excited. I hope our guys are excited. But it's October tomorrow, so about a month and a half away from season. So I'm getting the itch.
Yeah, I'll bet you most of the guys are too. That's exciting. Back to kind of your career. Who was the most influential coach that you had, and why?
It was JD Luters for me. He came in after leaving Northeast my freshman year, and I can remember a practice where it was a tough one, and something happened. I kind of banged up my shoulder a little bit, and it was I wanted to be done for the day, but he kind of pushed me right back out there and was like, "No, you're not done." And that was one of the things that really ever stuck out to me was he's not going to let me settle. And even after school, we stayed in touch, and he's kind of been like the wrestling father for me. He, if I need something, I can always call him. Whether it's something to work on in the house, or wrestling, or we want to go watch football or something. So he's just a guy I can talk to about anything, and that's really what moved me that way, and that's what I want to bring to our program as well. I want our guys to be able to, coach did this for me, maybe I can reach out to him and see what's going on. Or if I need a job, can I put you as a reference? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. There's a unique bond, I think, in the sport of wrestling. A lot of coaches. I mean, it exists in other sports also, but it feels different to me. The wrestling bond. I think it's just maybe because of the grueling workouts, and it really is such a intense. Everything about it's intense. I mean, it's the bond between a lot of the wrestlers and the coaches seems like it's extra special in this sport.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just the time that we put into it. We get 2 hours a night for practice, but we spend 9 hours with them on a Saturday at a tournament, and then the bus rides home. So we really get to know the kids a lot more, I think, than some other sports. But yeah, that's a big one for me is being able to relate to the kids. Letting them know that they can talk to me about anything, whether they got issues off the mat, on the mat. Just being able to talk to each other is big for me.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you are a football coach as well, and this is one of my favorite topics, really. But what advantages do you see with your athletes that are football players that are also wrestling?
I think, especially offensive line wise, the heavyweights, 220s, just your feet. I know Kirk Ferentz and all those guys. You see all that stuff on social media about it, but their feet, their athleticism, and then just the mental toughness. Really, like you said, it's a grind. The whole season's a grind. It's long. You got Christmas break, you got Thanksgiving break, and just being able to be self-disciplined all year really, really tests your mind. And in the fourth quarter when the game's tough, same thing as in the third period, you're down one with 30 seconds left. You need to take down. Well, am I going to quit or am I going to keep going? And that's where the mental side comes in. Is you can do it. You just got to believe that you can. And I think a lot of wrestlers bring that to the table for the football team, and that's what I like most about wrestling is the mental toughness that it brings you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know too. You mentioned Kirk Ferentz, and you're 100% right. You hear it a lot. Is college football coaches love wrestlers? So like that's just one more thing. Is even if you don't like wrestling, which I hope most of the guys do, but if you want to play football at the next level, wrestling helps like crazy as well. From a mental toughness, probably the most, but then the leverage thing, the hand fighting, and then if nothing else, the coaches love it. So I mean it's a massive advantage.
On defense, you make a tackle. In wrestling, double leg. When you're on your feet, you're hand fighting. With an offensive line, you got to use his hands. Defensive line, you got to use your hands. So I mean, it all comes together, and obviously basketball is a good sport too, but wrestling is so interchangeable with wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Coach, what would you say was the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome, either as a wrestler or now as a coach? Either one.
I would say, obviously, it's COVID stuff, and then, but not having success. In middle school, you can win all the matches you want. You can be AAU state champ. But that doesn't really mean anything when you get to high school, right? You're a freshman. Maybe you start varsity right away, and you go up against an 18-year-old kid, man, and it's a whole different ball game. You can't outmuscle everyone. It comes down to technique and your moves, your execution. I think that was a big one for me was, not going 128-0. It humbles you, whether you're ready for it or not, because you are going to hiccup at some point, and then you got to respond to it. So that was big for me was if I didn't have success, well, how am I going to come back from it? And Coach Lewis did a good job making us aware of that. and pushing us to, ultimately succeed. Um, but yeah, it was a difference, um, going from being the top dog in eighth grade to a freshman where you're bottom of the barrel. And I think a lot of kids right now, coming off this AAU state championship or something, um, that's a big difference when you're facing 18-year-old kids. And um, so, and you don't got to make weight every day as an AAU kid. Um, but then it comes into the grind, the mental toughness of, okay, I got to keep my weight down Thursday, make weight Friday, and we're back at it again Saturday for 2.5 months. So that's tough too, is the adjustment to the length of the season.
Yeah. That's a great lesson too, though. Yeah, when you don't have success, I mean, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna quit, or are you gonna learn from it and continue to get better? I mean, that's one of the best life lessons I think, and that wrestling helped me learn. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Coach, we talked a little bit about your this past season, but if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about the past season, and then kind of what your outlook is. Assuming we were going to wrestle, which I'm saying it's happening. Football, we're doing pretty well, and I'm thinking we're wrestling. So, what are you thinking for the outlook for this year?
This year, we're going to be young again. I think we have two returning seniors, both split time on varsity. I think they were both the same weight last year. So, and we had tryouts every week. So, I think they both ended up wrestling a decent amount. But we'll have, I think, 7 sophomores that also wrestled varsity as freshmen last year. So it was a big learning curve for them. We knew that going in, but I think our progress from the beginning of last season to the end of last season was really good. So we're looking to rely on a lot of our sophomores and a couple juniors that'll get us through the year.
Sure. What is your coaching staff look like? You mentioned there's a couple guys who wrestled in college. Who's on your staff?
Yep. So it's me. Don LaRue has been with Clinton for 16 years. He wrestled at Loras College. My brother is coming back. He um, helped out at Iowa City Regina a few times, and he's back coaching football now with me, and then he's going to help wrestling. And then we have Luke Wempen. He teaches at the high school. He's a Linmar grad. The Wempens are pretty known around Linmar.
Yeah.
Jacob just won his state title, I think, 2 years ago now. And then our new addition last year was Skylar Sanford from Woodbury Central. He wrestled at Briarcliff, and he got a job at Prince of Peace. So he's in town, and he's on staff with us. And he's kind of like me, loves wrestling, loves football, coaches baseball over at Prince of Peace. So we got a good young group of coaches that were willing to put in the time and take us in the next step.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Kids, listen and take advantage. Those coaches are here for you. That's great.
Absolutely.
Okay, Coach. So we have reached we call this our sudden death question round. Some of these questions don't have anything to do with wrestling at all, but they kind of make Jay Zimet laugh sometimes. So.
That's all right. I'm ready for it.
Okay. What is your favorite wrestling movie?
Ooh, it's got to be. Can't go away from Loud and Swain, I don't think. So I'm going to say Vision Quest.
Sure, that's a good one, man. You can't lose with that one. You know what I realize, actually? We ask a lot of guys this question, maybe everyone, and there's a lot more wrestling movies than I ever realized. Eventually, I'm working on an elaborate list of all of them. I'll get out there online, and most of them I can find on Amazon. So.
I would say probably my number 2 was probably because I was a kid when it came out, but was Disney's Going to the Mat about the blind kid wrestling.
I don't even think that's on my list. I'm going to have to write it down.
Yeah, that was a good one for me back in the day. Sure. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but yeah, that was a good one.
Awesome. I'll have to check it out. Okay, favorite superhero?
I'm going to. This is tough. I like Avengers. I like DC, but I'll probably have to go with Batman. I'm a big fan of the Dark Knight series.
I like it. I like it. Favorite wrestling match of all time?
Mm. This is a tough one. There's a lot of those. I would say probably Tony Ramos versus Jordan Oliver in Carver. That was, I think I was actually there for that one, and that might be why it's my favorite. But just the electricity, and I just have never felt anything like that. So that was really cool.
I'm with you. That was one of my favorites for sure. And I remember, I was definitely there. We had season tickets for a while. And I remember literally thinking in the moment, I'm like, I have never heard Carver Hawkeye this loud, ever.
I would say probably the only other time it's been that loud was when Michael Kemmer just beat Mark Hall this year.
Yes, and actually, I was lucky enough that I was there as well. And you're right, that one was amazing,
incredible.
Okay, chocolate or vanilla ice cream?
Chocolate. No reason.
Greatest U.S. Olympic wrestler?
I think my favorite, I'll say, was probably Rulon Gardner. That was who I was big into when I was younger. But it's got to be Gable. That dude is just a machine, and no one has been like that ever since. So Gable and then Rulon Gardner.
Great answers, man. A few years back, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we went to Tulsa Nationals, and my youngest got to meet Rulon Gardner. He's 10 now, so he was like 7, I think. Yeah. And so I got a picture with him and Rulon, and actually he was holding 2 medals. One of them I didn't know. It must have been some awesome tournament, but the other one was his Olympic gold. So that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I read his book a while back, and just the stuff that he went through to get to where he was and still compete at a high level is very impressive.
Absolutely. Okay, so Coach, what's your favorite food? And then we like to ask too, if you have a local restaurant, where in Clinton, where would you like to plug in Clinton?
My favorite food is probably a steak. Very Iowan. Meat and potatoes is all I need for everything. So I'd say steak, and then you can never go wrong with the Chicken George and Candlelight. That's probably my favorite place in town. And it's right on the river, so you got a good view, and they hook you up.
Awesome. We'll have to check it out. Favorite football team?
Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, Vikings. Okay.
Not doing great, but we'll get through it.
Yep. Do you have a favorite vacation destination?
Really, all the vacations I've ever been on have been good. I like fishing in Canada, and then my most recent trip was to Jamaica, and it was incredible down there. Love the beaches, love the ocean, and just the culture down there is a lot different. So seeing that aspect was an eye-opener for me.
I haven't been, but that's on my to-do list for sure. I got to get to Jamaica.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Okay, Coach, our last question, we'd like to end on this one, is what is your favorite quote?
I was a big fan of Gable's quote, the gold medals aren't always made of gold. They're made of an alloy called guts, hard work and determination. And that, everyone sees the results, but they don't see what you put into those results. Wrestling is a hard sport, and not a lot of people see the behind the scenes of practices where you don't think you're going to make it through, or cutting weight, or just the dieting or the mental strain that it has on you. So for me, that was like, okay, yep, he put in his hard work, he dedicated himself to it, and then that was his end result, was the gold medal, which, even if it's not a gold medal, what you put into it, and you get what you put out. Another great quote by Terry: "You get in what you put out." And for our guys to really buy into that, I think is really big for the program.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great quotes. Well, Coach, that's the end of the interview. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to keeping up with the River Kings here this upcoming season. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Please share this podcast with your friends. Give us a like and a follow on Facebook and Twitter at QCA Wrestle. And keep an eye out for more QCA wrestling content coming soon.